graduated from college. The job was enjoyable. In reality, I had a dream. I've always loved good coffee and music, and I had a vision of opening a charming cafe with a great musical atmosphere. To prepare for the dream, on holidays, I used to visit my favorite retro cafe, spending my days enjoying the fragrant coffee and the music resonating pleasantly in the interior. Despite fully savoring such solitary holidays, romance had always been elusive for me. However, at one point, a colleague at work who concerned about my perpetual single status introduced me to a woman named Ashley. Despite the initial awkwardness, we bonded over our love for coffee, and our relationship flourished. We eventually got married at the age of 35. Since my parents had already passed away and Ashley's parents were elderly, we opted for an intimate ceremony with just the two of us. Fortunately, we soon welcomed a daughter into our lives. Every morning, we enjoyed delicious coffee together at home while happily discussing the growth of our daughter, Maya. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 10 years had passed. I had been experiencing slightly poor health, reminiscent of a lingering cold. Despite undergoing several checkups at the hospital, the cause remained unknown, leading to a recommendation for a detailed examination.
Perhaps just fatigue or the inevitable signs of aging.
Having undergone annual checkups, I hadn't taken it too seriously. However, the revelation after the examination was astonishing. The diagnosis was stage 4 colon cancer, with already existing metastasis to the liver. I was in disbelief, exclaiming,
"Is it true?" Besides the symptoms of a cold, I didn't have any other awareness of this.
The Dr. David calmly explained,
"Symptoms vary from person to person, and it seems to have progressed unnoticed."
He then gently reassured me and said,
"I'd like to discuss the details of your future treatment, so please come with your family tomorrow."
That day, I went home and talked to Ashley about wanting her to accompany me to the hospital the next day. She replied,
"Do I really need to go with you? Well, tomorrow is Maya's dance lesson at 3 p.m.
Lately, she had been busy with Maya's newfound interest in dance. Taking a deep breath, I revealed that I had been diagnosed with colon cancer.
Cancer. Is it true?"
She asked, visibly surprised. I shared only what I knew at that moment and obtained her consent for her support at the hospital. The following day, accompanied by Ashley, we went to the hospital, where David began explaining the treatment. Due to the size of the cancer, surgical removal was not an option. The plan involved using chemotherapy with repeated hospitalizations. My mother battled breast cancer and passed away after 3 years of fighting. Having witnessed her condition up close, the doctor's words about the impossibility of surgery made me feel the shortness of my own remaining time. So, I gathered my courage and asked David,
"Tell me, how much time do I have left?"
"In this situation, about a year, I would say,"
replied he, wearing a troubled expression.
"However, new drugs are being developed, and some people remain active for more than a year. Let's work together."
His encouraging words delivered with a gentle voice stirred warmth in my chest, and tears welled up uncontrollably. In contrast, Ashley beside me remained expressionless throughout the explanation. After David concluded the explanation, while waiting for the hospital's billing, Ashley said,
"You can return home alone, right? I'm heading to Maya's dance class now."
Then she quickly left away. She ultimately didn't say anything to me.
Is she confused? Well, yeah, confusion is expected.
I wanted to talk more about the future, but I felt a bit disappointed. Back home, I found myself lost in thought. Maya was still just 10 years old. She will soon become a middle school student, then a high school student, gradually growing into an adult. Will I really be unable to see her grow? Alone in the quiet living room, I shed tears. A few hours later, Ashley and Maya returned home.
I'm home, Dad. Dancing was fun today too.
As always, Maya flashed me a radiant smile. Seeing her innocent smile, I felt like crying again. Without looking at my face, Ashley began preparing dinner as usual. After dinner and bath time, when it was just the two of us, Ashley quietly asked me,
What are you planning to do about work?
Well, I guess I'll take a break for a while.
Upon hearing my answer, she sighed deeply, and then muttered as if determined,
For Maya's sake, I need to work too.
For Maya's sake. I understood what she was saying, but it bothered me that she had never expressed any concern for me. Then, without saying anything more, she went to the bedroom. There were many things on my mind, but I was so tired that I went to bed right away that day. The next day, I applied for leave from work. I honestly told my colleagues about my current situation and apologized for any inconvenience I might cause at work in the future. They were concerned about my situation and said,
We'll be waiting, so come back strong.
As I left the office, one particularly close colleague named Vincent hugged me with tears in their eyes and said,
Just keep living, okay?
There were people shedding tears for me. That fact gave me courage. On the day of hospitalization, I went to the hospital alone. Ashley apparently had an important matter related to Maya on that day. She had asked me not to tell Maya about the illness. The reason was that she didn't want to disturb Maya. Chemotherapy started along with my hospitalization. The treatment was tougher than I had anticipated, but nurses, the attending physician, and fellow patients provided me with a lot of encouragement. I endured 2 weeks of treatment with desperate determination. However, during that time, neither Ashley nor Maya visited me even once. It seemed that Maya had caught a cold. It couldn't be helped, but not being able to see the family when my spirits were low was genuinely lonely. Finally, the day of discharge arrived. In preparation for the afternoon discharge, I packed my belongings. Then, I received a message from Ashley on my phone.
Is it about the pickup arrangements?
Thinking so, I checked it. But there, I found unbelievable words lined up.
I can't support you anymore. Maya and I are leaving the house together. I've prepared the divorce papers, so please submit them.
I felt all the strength leave my body and sat down on the spot.
Why? A sudden divorce? Is it because I have only a year left?
I couldn't comprehend what was happening. Simply sad, I collapsed onto the hospital room floor with sobbing. David, who came to greet me upon discharge, was surprised to see me and rushed over. I clung to him, crying like a small child. He took the time to listen to my story and said,
I see.
in a sad voice,
Many people experience changes in their environment for the worse when they become ill. But please don't give up. The situation will surely change as you fight the illness. There will always be people to support you in your fight. I'm one of them.
While gently patting my back, he continued to encourage me with a kind voice. After a considerable amount of time had passed, I somehow managed to calm down. I expressed my gratitude to David, and left the hospital. Leaving the hospital, I caught a taxi but took a detour to head home. Perhaps because I had been in the hospital for so long, I even felt grateful for the refreshing outside in such a moment. On my way home, I arrived at the retro cafe I used to frequent.
It's been a while. Maybe I should drop by.
I opened the door to the shop. A little after 4 p.m., the inside was quiet, and the rich aroma of coffee filled the empty space, bringing a slight sense of happiness to me.
Hi there, long time no see.
The cafe's master Jacob greeted me. I smiled at him, took a seat at the counter, and ordered coffee. Come to think of it, I had been to the same cafe with Ashley before. Remembering that, my eyes welled up with tears again.
You look down, what's up?
Jacob quietly spoke up. Perhaps because there was no one else around, I ended up telling him everything about my current situation.
Even if I talk about this, Jacob must find it troublesome.
I thought so, but he listened quietly and said with tears in their eyes.
That must have been tough.
His supportive words almost made me cry aloud again. Even though I had shed plenty of tears at the hospital, tears continued to flow uncontrollably from my body. Talking suddenly, crying suddenly, I must have been an inconvenient customer. Yet, without a single unpleasant expression, Jacob brewed the coffee I liked, and said as I left,
Feel free to come by any time.
When I got home, as mentioned in the message, there was no sign of Ashley and Maya. Only the divorce papers were placed on the table. I gazed at the divorce papers, and mustering courage, called Ashley.
Did you see the message?
She said that as her first words.
I did. I also checked the divorce papers.
Okay. In that case, you'll probably receive a call from the lawyer about the next steps.
Facing my strained voice, she responded with a nonchalant tone. And she seemed ready to hang up.
Why a divorce all of this sudden? We've had no issues as a family until now, right?
I desperately spoke, wanting to keep her on the line.
A problem came up, your illness. I can't take care of you for Maya's future. Please understand it's for her sake.
I was left speechless. It was indeed because of my illness. With only a year to live, I was being abandoned by my wife. In the end, she hung up, and we never had the chance to talk again. Later, a lawyer visited me, and the divorce and property division proceedings were carried out. The divorce with Ashley was finalized surprisingly easily. On the day the divorce was finalized, I found myself in front of that cafe without realizing it.
Do I still have a purpose in life from now on?
The emptiness within me led me to enter the cafe absent-mindedly and order the usual coffee. While sipping the coffee and listening to music absent-mindedly, I suddenly remembered my mother. During her illness, she always told me,
Live without regrets. You're my treasure. I always wish for your happiness.
Indeed, she always supported the paths I chose. She gave me love, even for my father, who passed away early. Even when she was suffering from illness, she thought about my happiness. I shouldn't betray those feelings. I have to live without regrets. I strongly believe that. Afterward, I resigned from my job, and I started working at the cafe with Jacob's permission. My colleagues at the company felt lonely but respected my desire to do what I love.
If you ever change your mind, feel free to come back anytime.
Despite my selfishness, my best colleague Vincent sincerely said that to me. While working at the cafe, I continued cancer treatment. Upon my doctor's suggestion to try a new medication, I readily accepted the proposal. I was determined to make every effort to stay alive. Opting for outpatient treatment, I enjoyed my time at the cafe, savoring my beloved coffee and indulging in music whenever possible. I suggested to Jacob about incorporating customer requests into the cafe's music playlist. The cafe's speakers were quite good, and I thought many people would enjoy music on those speakers. Jacob agreed, so when I put out the call on social media, numerous music enthusiasts started bringing in their records and CDs. The cafe, where people with similar interests gathered, became a comfortable space, and I found myself naturally smiling every day. I truly appreciated those daily moments. Midst of that, after starting the new medication, my doctor David reported the search results to me with a curious, as well as it was very happy expression.
The cancer is shrinking. With this, surgery is now possible.
A miracle had happened.
Please, proceed.
I said it without hesitation. I want to bet on this miracle. He wholeheartedly received my strong feelings. After a lengthy surgery, all the cancer cells were indeed removed. Although there was still a possibility of recurrence, outpatient visits were necessary. But for the time being, my cancer was cured. At that point, 2 years had passed since receiving the cancer diagnosis. Moreover, the miracle brought further luck into my life. Due to the buzz on social media, the cafe where I work was featured in a magazine. As a result, one girl who saw it in the magazine came to the cafe. It was my daughter Maya, whom I hadn't seen in 2 years. Relying on the information she found in the magazine, she had come to talk to me on her own. It seemed my ex-wife Ashley had told her the reason for our divorce was that I had lost my job and couldn't support them anymore. At that time, she was only 10 years old, so she had no other choice to follow Ashley's instructions. However, due to the sudden separation from me, she had lingering regrets and had wanted to see me all that time.
You're already in middle school, right? Coming here alone, you've really grown up.
I couldn't help but be impressed. I shared everything about my illness with the now-grown Maya. She was surprised, but upon understanding that the illness had been cured, her radiant smile from before returned.
I'm so glad. Dad, I'm glad you're alive.
According to her, Ashley remarried a man who was Maya's dance teacher 6 months after divorcing me. It seemed their relationship had deepened about a year before our divorce.
My mom spilled the milk she was drinking when she saw you in the magazine. She was so shocked.
Mischievously laughing, Maya shared that amusing tidbit with me. That can't be helped. If someone saw a magazine with a picture of me, who had a year to live, they'd probably mistake it for some kind of ghost photo. I imagined Ashley's surprised face and couldn't help but chuckle a little. After that, Maya started visiting the cafe occasionally. My daughter, whom I thought I could never see again, was there in front of me and smiling. To ensure I could witness her continued growth with my own eyes, I strongly felt the desire to live. Looking back, being abandoned by my ex-wife and hitting rock bottom might have led me to live each day desperately. Then, as a result, a miracle occurred. Through the experience, I touched upon many kindnesses. I've been reminded that many people care about me. In order to appreciate the various affections and kindness I've received from people like my mother, I want to return that love and tenderness to my precious daughter and friends next.